Hi everyone, my name's Louise and I've created this Life Through series to share some experiences and some knowledge and potentially some wisdom that I've gained over the years. It's all based on my own life experiences. So mentioning that, the topic that I want to touch on today is life through suicide. So I do have personal experience with suicidal thoughts and actually having a suicidal attempt. So in this video, I want to give two messages, especially considering the times that we're in, to people who are potentially struggling with this. Just to share my experience. Nobody can tell you how to get through your experience, but I can talk to you about mine. So that would be a message for anybody who is struggling right now and is suffering with those thoughts. And then the second part would be a message for people who are left behind when someone does succumb to those thoughts. Just a message for you to help you what you're going through now. It would be what I would hope someone would have said to the people that I left behind if I'd been successful. So that's where it comes from. I have a hair. So if you do watch my other videos, you'll see that I do have a sense of humor. So if something weird comes out, just know that it's not inappropriate. It's just how I deal with things. So getting to the hard topic. I understand that like right now is a very stressful time for people. There's so much uncertainty. There's so much pressure. There's so much going on that it can be very overwhelming. And even before the pandemic, people were dealing with a lot. So this is just an extra burden. So I can completely understand when people have unhealed wounds, unhealed traumas, and potentially things that they just can't even come to comprehend, that there would be these thoughts of leaving. Personally, from my experience, the pain is so immense that nothing feels like bliss. People who have suffered or who do suffer with depression would understand that. Like it's just a giving up. Not a giving up, it's an exhaustion when you come to these level of thoughts. To not choose life is a level of exhaustion from life. And what I've learned subsequent to my attempt was, one, if you're having these thoughts, then there's healing that needs to happen, not fixing. You're not broken. You're not the worst in the world. You know, you're not the most useless. You're nothing that your thoughts are telling you that you are. But what you are is an experience in this world. And it's a real experience. And the experience that I would offer to people who are having these thoughts is there is another side to that coin. There is another side to that coin of suffering. And it is potential. But in order to flip that coin, there's healing that needs to happen. Now, as someone who has had trauma in their life, I can tell you that if you've come to this point, healing feels impossible. The wound feels too deep. The cave seems too deep. The darkness seems too overwhelming and too present, especially during these times. Darkness feels like it's everywhere. But where there is dark, there is light. And I know that sounds awful. It sounds awful to people who are suffering to say something so simplistic. But please don't get me wrong. There is nothing simplistic about healing. Healing is a long journey. But the problem is we don't get that message in today's society. It's fix yourself. Get over yourself. Stop being selfish. These are the things that you'll hear, rather than the message of time is needed to heal. Now, there's another problem with that statement, is that when you're triggered into this level of anxiety, this level of depression, this level of fear, this level of anger, you don't feel like you have time. Things need to either change now or the world is going to end. And that's not true. We do have time for change. What we sometimes lack is the support for change and the support for healing. Healing is a very vulnerable process. And when everybody's triggered into panic like we are right now, it doesn't feel like there's time to slow down. It doesn't feel like it feels like the illogical thing to do, which is actually slow down and heal. This feels like a time to be in flight, be in fright, or freeze. And that's not true. I obviously can't say anything with certainty, but I can speak from my own experience. So I know that healing is possible. I know it just needs time. I've done a lot of research after my own experience, and I had a lot of experience after my own experience, which was I didn't get help immediately. So I went on a very destructive path, which also just meant I had further healing to do. But eventually, when I did accept the fact that I needed to heal and I needed to slow down and I needed to confront what was making me feel this way, that I started to experience life and what that possibility is. And I know regardless of the future that we're going into, we need people to be in that space, in that healed space. If this future is uncertain, I'd much rather people take time to heal so that we have more healed people to make a more healed future. If we run around in this panic, in this destructive way, we're only doing more damage. And we're only hurting people who feel vulnerable. It's easy for the capable and the uninhibited to demand the steps that we take forward and the way that we need to go. But those people are coming from a place of wholeness, as are the people that are unhealed. It's a different type of whole. And in my journey, I've experienced a lot of, not a lack of empathy, I don't even know what it is. I think it's a lack of knowledge and how to deal with people that are so traumatized. And that's where I've actually focused a lot of my research after I've gone on this healing journey. And it's been self-healing. So don't think that you need therapy unless you feel like you want therapy, and go for therapy. I did a very isolated sort of healing process, which was a part of my journey until the end, when I had to open up and I had to accept like teachers and knowledge and people who can really confront you with the things that you maybe are hiding from yourself. And one of the things that I've learned is that's why support is so important. And that's where I think we lack the knowledge in how to help each other, but not rescue each other. Don't confuse support for rescue. Everybody is capable. Everybody is whole. And they have the ability. Sometimes they just need support. So I'm unsure how helpful or how what that would mean for anybody who's going through any of these thoughts right now. I suppose the message that I would have for people is there is another side if you can get through this healing. Not if, when you get through this healing. Healing is possible. And I guess that's the message I would want to send to people, because there was a time when even I didn't believe that was possible. I was completely disconnected from life, where death only felt like the only option. And if I can share an experience from my attempt is, yes, there is nothing on the other side. It is very numb. So you do not feel the pain, but you also don't feel anything else. I believe there is a place where you can feel things, but when you try to go from such a dark space into death, you find the dark space of death. But if you find death through the experience of your life, let's just say my assumption is that there is an experience of life after death. So yeah, I understand that people are going through a hard time, and there are these thoughts. And I would like to say that there is hope. And I have trust in that hope, that we can help each other heal. And it's not even about getting together, even though I think getting together is very important. There is knowledge out there that we can share with each other about not just the healing of the heart, but the healing of the body, the healing of our nervous system, the healing of our regulatory system, the healing of all our discord that is within our bodies. And if you don't want to start with the, let's call it the emotional stuff, that's always a good place to start. But the emotional stuff will come out of that. It's all interconnected. So I suppose my hope would be for all of this is starting a discussion and not letting it be so, don't talk about it, because that's not helpful either. There are many people who have survived their suicidal attempts. There are many people who have come back and created their life. There are some that haven't, that are still going through the journey. And you have to understand it's not that uncommon. It's uncommon to some, and it will shock them, what they call these dark thoughts or these deep thoughts or whatever they call them, nihilistic. But these are thoughts that we have, and these are thoughts that we can share. And I think these are thoughts that we can learn through. We can learn a lot from what it means to be so traumatized and so disconnected, because then we write a story of how to come back from that. And there is a path through there, and there is a path out. Many paths, actually. It's never one simple thing. Don't let anybody ever tell you that this is the fix. There's many fixes, and you will have to figure out what also works for you. But starting to listen to people is a good way to start figuring out what works for you and just trying different things. But trying different things requires hope. And I hope that's what this message is. It just gives you that motivation to try one thing. Maybe it doesn't work for you, and that's okay. But try another and try another until you can start finding your steps on this path. That's for the people who are having the dark thoughts. Just know you're not alone. Then there's another message. So something that's triggered me doing this is I've actually come across a lot of people recently, and I think it's a common trend, that have lost someone to suicide. Easily, like within the last month or two, I've heard of 3. And to the people who are shocked, to the people who don't understand the darkness, I do have a message. And it is one you would not have known. So please don't think you could have rescued that person or supported this person like I've spoken about now. The support that I'm talking about now is actually going to require a lot of change, and a lot of people actually create that structure and create that support. No authority is going to give it to us. We as the people have to help each other. And we start with the people next to us. Support is not rescue, as I mentioned before. So please don't think you could have rescued that person. They were in such a deep space that it felt like the only way out. They will find healing on the other side. And one of the ways that I believe, I can't say this is true, but I believe that would help them is if you heal. You have now experienced a trauma. You have now experienced uncertainty. You have experienced a shock to your system. And how you heal through this can help a lot of people. How you heal through this can start creating that support. All people can come together for support. And maybe it starts with allowing yourself to be supported. Remember that you don't give them an empty cup. If you want to understand their process, you'll have to go through the healing process. And I know a lot of people seem always shocked when someone dies, commits suicide. They always, one of the thoughts is, but I should have known. And my response to that was, actually, you're less likely to know. The person who's broken down and fallen on the floor and crying is processing their emotions. The person who seems fine is the person who isn't. So please don't put any burden on yourself, and that's going to have to be on your healing journey, is to how to release that sense of you should have helped them. It's nobody's responsibility to help anybody. Our responsibility is to heal ourselves. And then where we can, from where we can, we offer support. That's like me. I offer support through these videos. I'm trying to give knowledge about the healing practices that do exist. And please understand, I'm not going from a woo-woo perspective, even though I do believe in the woo-woo perspective. There's a lot of literature out there from academics. The Body Keeps Score. It's a very good book. And for anybody going through anything, anybody who's experienced a loss, that is a good book to understand things that could have been happening within the person, explaining their reactions, explaining their way of being. And that's written by a doctor. There's many books out there. And that's why I say everybody will find their own. And you can find it in whatever way you want it. Either you want it mentally, so you want it from the academic world. There's plenty coming out right now. There is so much research, and it's so sad that we don't seem to have access to it. But then that's also our own journey to find what resonates with us. If you want to come from the heart space, that's usually where the woo-woo lives. Or not always. If you want to come from the heart space, there's a lot of literature about how you can hold space for people, things that you can do. And there's so much interesting research coming out about healing practices that come from art, healing practices that come from dance, conversation, all these things. So there's many ways of using the heart to create healing spaces. So it doesn't just have to be in the mental place. And then there's the healing of the body, which I mentioned as well. And again, there's many practices and many ways that we can do that. So whatever resonates with you, we can start there. I would always recommend just starting with the breath, becoming aware of yourself, and bringing yourself to a place of reasonable calm so that you can relax, so you can be vulnerable. And I know that is not an easy thing to do. For me, it took years to be able to do that. Not someone telling me to sit quietly and breathe, but it took me years to find that breath. But it's always a good time to start now and just become aware of your breath, because it does affect your entire body and your entire being. And if you can start becoming aware of that, and managing that, it's a good journey to go on. And again, it's not woo-woo. It's about body regulation as well. And mind. But there's so much knowledge out there, and I really hope through this channel I can start sharing it with everybody. And I hope this message means something to someone. But if anything, at least it's a good start to the conversation. And also breaking down that stigma of suicidal people and suicidal attempts. There's more of us out there than most people realize. But yeah, and it's a nice rainy day here in Joburg. It's a good time to take a breath and believe in renewal and hope as we watch nature green around us. Thank you everybody for your time. And I hope to put more content out soon. Please let me know what you feel or think about this video and share it where possible for anybody who might need it. Might not be the best produced, but it is genuine and it is authentic. And just know that you are all genuine and you are all authentic. And you are whole and you are capable. And there is support out there for you, for everyone. Thank you, everybody. I hope you have a beautiful day.